but at least for the purposes of this workshop, has suffered a welcome academic conversion, and I'm looking very much forward very much to hearing his paper on the Indian influence on Mani Reconsidered, the case of Jainism.
Well, thanks, Will. I should start with apologies. I shouldn't be here at all because we already should be at lunch. So, as I said, I will make it relatively short. The apologies are in the direction Will already mentioned. I'm not a Jain specialist. I'm more on the Buddhist side of the story. And of course, with that title, if it says anything, means anything to you, you already see that I will bring you out of India, because I will speak about a religion which obviously has never been in India, although there was a certain Indian influence, which is Manichaeism, founded in the 3rd century by an Iranian religious figure called Mani, giving the religion its name. What I would like to do is to show you, and this is probably the reason that I liked to come. My only reason to be here is that Peter thought it interesting, obviously, and invited me without me presenting you any pictures of archaeological remains or art historian pieces, and also having a very short PowerPoint. You couldn't even call that presentation, probably. My only reason to be here, and I was happy to come, was to see the reaction of the Jain specialists on what I have to say. And my main two pieces, textual pieces, I want to present to you, are coming from quite different areas in which Manichaeism, which was a world religion, over quite some centuries until it finally died out, so there are several areas from which these documents come I would like to introduce to you. The first one is, switch here, and this was the very beginning of my thoughts about that, is the so-called Coptic Egyptian text, Kephalaya, a Manichaean text which was found in the Egyptian desert and was worked on and translated by Ian Gardner, an Australian Coptologist. And we happened to meet in Cardiff, and we had some conversations, and that's where the whole story started. There are in the Kephalaya, and I will shortly go back to that text in the second part of my short presentation, some terms, key terms, so to speak, of religious figures in that Manichaean text, which have a clear, at least the first one, you can already see, a clear Indian influence. So they speak of Buddhas, which obviously is taken, and this is found in a lot of Manichaean texts, which is taken from Buddha. The other ones I will mention a little bit later. My own preoccupation with Indian influence on Manichaeism, however, started in a different direction. It was when I read, I have to say, a translation of a text by the originally Syriac author, Bartesianus of Edessa, first half of the 3rd century, who lived in northern Iran at around the same time as Mani, as the founder of Manichaeism, and there are some indications that Mani had read Bartesianus. And in Bartesianus' work, unfortunately only in fragments, is preserved a passage about Indian religions. And these passages, or this passage, obviously he collected from an Indian delegation who was on its way to the court of the Roman Emperor Heliogabalus. And here it was mainly the description of the deliberate death of the Indian ascetics, in Greek samanaioi, which is of course shramanas, or in a Prakrit form samana, which were described here. The connection to Mani, of course, I already pointed out, is that Mani knew Bartesianus' work, was in some points obviously also against it. But what I want to do now, because of the lack of time is just to read you the English translation of this Bardesanes passage on the Samanoi. And the point I want to make is, of course, a kind of critical point, which is that whenever you find in a Western source, in a Greek source mainly, or in a Syriac source, some indications to India, to Indian religions, it is normally ascetic groups are addressed in the Greek term of Samanaioi, then this is usually identified with Buddhists. Of course, as a Buddhologist, I should be happy to accept that, but there are actually some problems with this interpretation. And I think Bardesanes' text gives us one example of this problematic interpretation of Buddhist influence, and I would rather suggest here a Jain influence. But let me present this passage longer passage in an English translation. The Samanaioi are, as we said, elected ones. If someone wants to be admitted to the community, he goes to the council of the city, wherever he is residing, hands over all his property and belongings, shaves the parts of his body which have unnecessary hairs, takes a cape and leaves for the Samanaioi without turning to his wife or his children, speaking a word or considering them to belong to him anymore. The children are taken care of by the king, so that everything they need is given to them. The wife is taken care of by the relatives. The life of the Samanaioi is organized as follows. They live outside of the city and spend their days with conversation about the divine. They have lodgings and temples built by the kind in which there are stewards who receive a fixed amount of money to sustain those who have gathered in the community. As food, rice, bread, fruits and vegetables are prepared. By the sound of a bell, the Samanaioi go into the house, but those who are not Samanaioi have to leave it. And these Samanaioi speak a prayer. After they have finished their prayer, the bell sounds again and the servants bring a bowl to each of them, because two of them never eat together from the same bowl, and give them rice to eat. To the one who wishes it, they give additionally different sorts of vegetables and fruits. After they have eaten, they return to their former activities. They all live without wives and without belongings. The other inhabitants of India pay them and also to the Brahmins so much reverence that even the king visits them and implores them to speak prayers and to intercede for those who own the land and to advise them what to do. Towards death, and now this is a crucial part, towards death they have the attitude that they consider the time of their life as a service to be given to nature and are eager to unbind the soul from the body. Often, when they see that they are well, they depart from life, although they are not affected or driven by any harm or disease after they have announced it to the others. And nobody will prevent them. Everybody rather praises them as blessed and send greetings and messages for the relatives. They are so much convinced of a firm and secure community of the souls and of the rest of the human beings. After they have listened to what they were told, they deliver their body to the flame in order to separate the soul from the body in an as pure as possible form and depart while singing. The closest friends see them off to death easier than other people see their co-citizens depart to distant colonies. They mourn themselves because they have to stay in life, but they praise those as blissful because they have achieved the lot of immortality. Athanatos. So we have the key. Well, I think this is quite evident where I see some Jain influence here. We have, of course, for instance, the concept of the soul, Greek psyche. The text is, you have to understand, is preserved in Greek, not in the original Syriac version. The Greek word for a soul is there, psyche, in contrast to the body, soma. And this is very much emphasized in the text, as you probably have heard. And of course, this caused Buddhist interpretations a lot of problems, because why should they speak about the soul in that prominent position, even in a interpretatio Christiana or in another kind of interpretation, and keep to the fact that there is also the immortality of soul, which does not fit to any, as far as I know, to any Buddhist